Hi everybody, Armored Pants here, and I have another video for you. And this is sort of two videos in one. It's a follow-up video on the 5 secrets to becoming a Unicum, which we did with Josh running us Helpimmabug and Union Clan on North American server. And it's also how to platoon, or how to platoon effectively. Obviously, how to platoon is easy, just hit send invite. But how to platoon effectively, because those two stories are kind of related. And also, what really kind of the genesis of this is that after I did the video, the 5 secrets to become a Unicum, one of Josh's clanmates, Jerry, reached out to me and said, I actually followed and observed and helped Josh on his journey. I platooned with him a lot, because remember, one of the secrets was platooning. And, she says, so I've witnessed this firsthand. I thought, wow, this could be a great idea for a video that we do a follow-up on that. Then I also got some requests from you guys about, Armored, can you help us to platoon effectively? Because people keep telling me that if I platoon, my win rate will increase and I'll have better games, but actually it's not working for me. So I thought, actually, I can combine the two, because this is a great example. Jerry and Josh are a great example of how to platoon effectively. The only thing, I guess, which could make this more perfect is if Josh's name was Tom, then we would have the perfect platoon couple, wouldn't we? But unfortunately, he stubbornly continues to remain called Josh. But let us persevere with Josh and Jerry rather than Tom and Jerry. Now, Jerry runs in the Union Clan too, and he runs as Fukna or Fukne, or I'm not really, it's PHQNA. Actually, I'm only joking. It is actually a phonetic way of spelling the phrase most common amongst our American brethren, called Fucking. So Fucking rolling with Josh. Helpimmabug. So Helpimmabug, Fucking. Nice platoon name, isn't it? We're looking at the gameplay here, and let's talk about how to platoon effectively, right? So when you want to platoon effectively, right, let's talk about some of the rules, some of the things you should do. So firstly, platooning with a random stranger in the game is not going to really help you that much, because effectively then you've got two people who don't really know each other, playing with each other. They don't know their skill set, they don't know their game style, their type of tanks they prefer. They don't really know anything like that. And if you platoon with somebody for 2 or 3 games like that, it's not really going to make too much difference. So basically, first thing is, like the guys here in the Union Clan, Josh and Jerry, you need to platoon with somebody that you know. Now, obviously, if you platoon with a good player or a better player, that's great, but that's not necessary. The key thing is to platoon with somebody that you trust, that you know their gameplay, and that you can rely upon to play as a team, right? And then after that, win rates and statistics and all that sort of are may be important, but the key thing is it's somebody that you know what they're going to do, and you know how they're going to play, and they're going to support you, right? Second thing is you need to communicate, right? So voice communication is key. If you are playing a game together, as we look at the guys playing here, and can't communicate to each other. And bear in mind, most people play this game on a mobile. It's very difficult to type when you're playing, particularly if you're in a brawl situation or something like that. It's almost impossible. So therefore, you can't really communicate by typing. So you kind of lose the advantage of actually being in the platoon if you can't communicate. So therefore, you need to have some sort of voice communication. That will improve your gameplay immensely, right? Communication is the heart of everything in human endeavor, whether it's personal, private, business, or gaming relationships, right? So you can use Discord. Discord runs while you're playing the game. You can use Skype. You can use WhatsApp mobile communication. You can use FaceTime, and just use the voice aspect of it. Whatever, there's loads of apps out there. You could use Facebook Messenger for voice communication, whatever. You can use it, right? So it's not a problem to find an app that you can use. So pick an app and then you can use it. So, I mean, back in the day when I used to platoon for some videos with Yuri, who's the head of the Smile clan, we used to talk on Skype. So, I didn't have Discord on my phone at the time, I think, so we used to talk on Skype. So it doesn't really matter what you talk on. Viber, another good communication tool to use. So whatever tool suits you best, depending on your region, etc., whatever's going to use the least amount of bandwidth and allow you to play. So that's one option. Another thing, by the way, another trick is if you have, if something slows down the device you play on, then you have a separate device like an iPad or a laptop or something like that you're not using, you can communicate on that, just put in your headphones, or use one headphone, and then you can use that while playing on a separate device on your mobile, right? So just another little tip. So number 2, voice communication. It is essential to good team play. Now, number 3 is, and this is not really that dependent on the tank types. We're going to discuss tank types in a second, but you need to play together. It just may seem like a pretty stupid fucking point, right? You're going, well, of course we're playing together in a platoon, but no. I've seen many times, and particularly when, going back to the first point, when you're playing against somebody you don't really know, one picks a heavy, one picks a medium or light tank, and they go different sides of the map, and they're completely isolated. What's the advantage of that against playing with a complete stranger? There is none. If you're not together, as the guys are, we see them in this video time again, they stick together as we look at their gameplay. If you're not together, you can't support each other, right? Now, if you pick a TD, and we go on to tank types now, if you pick a TD and a light tank, then obviously you're not going to stick together, right? But you play together in a different way, and that, let's say the light tank is spotting up for the TD is supporting the light, so there's a symbiotic relationship there. And that is still playing together and supporting each other. You don't have to be in physical proximity as the guys are here. But it depends on tank type, right? If you played similar tanks, 2 heavies, 2 mediums, 2 lights, etc., it's much easier to stay together. If you play 2D, TTs, much easier to stay together. But even if you play different tank types, play together, that can mean physical proximity, like the guys have in this video, or it can mean just communicating and playing together as a team, even though you might be in different parts of the map. And that is completely different to going different sides of the map, not talking to each other, and then there's really no advantage then to being in a platoon, right? If the heavy goes down towards A and the light tank goes towards C, depending on whatever map you're playing, and you're isolated, even if you're talking to each other, how can you help each other? So you can't, right? So play together, whether that's staying in close physical proximity, depending on the tank types, or just playing to support each other based on the tank types you have, as we said, like a light or a TD, playing together. Then not lastly, but the next point I'd like to make is that when platooning, is that you need to be situationally aware of what's going on. So watch what's happening with your platoon mate in particular, but also the team around you. So what can you use in the map to become more effective? Is there burnt out tanks that weren't there at the start that you can use for cover, go hold down? Is your teammate in trouble? Does he need some help? Should you concentrate fire on somebody who's firing on him to distract him or to put them off or to damage their gun? You know, being aware of what's going on, because very often if you are paying attention, you can save your teammate by, for example, firing at somebody who's about to fire at him and deflecting or their attention, or damaging their gun, for example, or tracking them. Or if you've got a lot of hit points and your teammate doesn't have any, take a hit from, right? Because 2 guns in the game are better than 1, and that's the real secret of the platooning, right? You're no longer a single person; you're like a couple, and that you need to play as a couple, right? You need to, for example, take a hit for your teammate to keep him in the game. You need, if you're in a heavy tank and he's in a light tank, to take some damage and to block from. I remember once when I just started the platoon, I just started to, sort of become a slightly better player. I was playing in a Panzer 4D, and my platoon mate had an AT2. So what I did was, we were the last 2 left in the game, and I just sat behind him while I reloaded, popped out, and was able to put in some shots. And we eventually won the game. I would think it was 2 against 5 in the end, and we won it. We were 2 against 0 in the end. So, and again, that's utilizing your teammate. He knew that he could protect me with his armor. He was happy to do so, and he also knew then by protecting me, he's got 2 guns against 1, and I could pop out. And the Panzer 4D has a 75mm gun, so I was able to do quite a bit of damage when the tanks start coming into him. So it's just a nice use of his armor versus my gun, and we were able to win that game. So, that's sort of thinking outside the box, thinking about how can we help each other? How can we utilize the facts that we've got 2 brains, 2 people, and 2 tanks rather than just 1 of each? And that's really what platooning is all about, isn't it? That you've got two of everything playing. But the thing is, though, and going back to my first point, if you don't play together, if you don't play as a team, you have no advantage over two players that are just there in a single entity. But worse, and this is something to really think about, guys, when you platoon, there's going to be a platoon on the other team. So if you don't play effectively as a platoon, and they do, you have an even bigger disadvantage because they're playing effectively as a team and you're not. So basically, you've got a platoon against 7 individuals. So you've got 1 platoon and 5 individuals against 7 individuals. So obviously, the team with the platoon that is working has a significant advantage. So you need to be aware of that too. And of course, that advantage or disadvantage increase exponentially if there's more than 1 platoon on the team. If there's 2 platoons on the team, then you've got twice the advantage or twice the disadvantage if they're not playing together. So actually, that would take me to my last point, which is if you cannot meet the criteria that we've just outlined in this video, so play with somebody that you know, trust, and understand, communicate using voice, situational awareness and tank awareness and playing together, all those 5 things, then don't platoon because you actually put yourself at a disadvantage. And that's maybe why when people are platooning, they think it should work for them and it doesn't. And they perhaps even lose more or have worse stats and worse games than if they just played on their own. So guys, I hope these lessons make sense. I hope that you have found it useful. I guess not everybody is going to have such an amazing journey as Josh, going from a 50% player to a 62% player with a 68.8% win rate over that time, over 20,000 battles. Not everybody's going to be as successful as Josh and Jerry are together. Still think Josh should change his name to Tom. But, that doesn't mean that you cannot be successful. It cannot work for you. And you cannot at least share some of the success that these guys enjoy playing together. So, guys, I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope it makes sense to you. And now I guess all that remains for me to say is, as always, cheers, Mush, and pants off.